Welcome friends to another r/EntitledParents video. My parents always told me get good grades and always make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. Seems like pretty good advice to me. That said, our first story of the day is by Zealous Ideal Air 5117. Dad refused to give rides because I was taking advantage of him, is now unable to drive. For the past few days, I've been thinking a lot about some of the ridiculous things my dad did while growing up, and I just stumbled across this community fortuitously. Here's a story I'll share. When I started college, I used public transport and a bike to get to and from work and school because I wasn't able to afford a car. Well, one day my bike was stolen, so I started solely relying on public transportation. My job consisted of 8-hour shifts where I would get off at 11:30 p.m. At this time, the trains and buses were usually not running. My dad and I lived together at this time. He also typically got off late and would drive past my work on his way home every night. For a little while, he would pick me up on his way home and give me a ride. After doing this a few times, he suddenly started refusing to give me a ride. He found an old, neglected bike that his girlfriend got at a garage sale and told me I could use it to get home. The bike was in pretty bad condition and was basically being held together with duct tape, but I tried to use it. Once winter rolled around, the bike was impossible to ride due to the snow and ice. My dad flat out refused to give me rides home after work, saying he wanted to teach me a lesson about independence and that I was taking advantage of his generosity by not utilizing my other options for transportation. So I, an at the time 18-year-old female, started walking 10 blocks home in the middle of winter at 11:30 p.m. This went on for about a year until I found a different job. Fast forward 5 years later, my dad started having absence seizures and could no longer drive safely. For the first little bit, I felt bad for him and gave him rides everywhere. After a while, my dad started calling me all the time and guilt-tripping me for not being available to give him a ride when I was working or too busy with something. I reminded my dad that he can utilize his other transportation options. I really don't want to be mean to him. It's unfortunate that he just started having seizures, but at the same time, he was kind of a jerk to me when I was vulnerable and needed him, and I can't just be his personal chauffeur. I'm kind of curious what you guys think. Do you guys think that in this situation, it's a fair and comparable situation? Do you think, considering what happened to OP in regards to their father, that it's fair for OP, when their father starts having seizures, to refuse to give them rides everywhere? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Our next story is by Kazi1999, entitled Possible Narc Father Wants Me to Bend to His Will and Treat Him Like a God or Leave. Hey, so I live with a narc, I think, father, my mother, and brother who's trans. This is important for some of the stories I may share. I'm 22 years old, bro 1 is trans brother, 20 years old, bro 2 is youngest brother, 15 years old. Okay, so I'll include some background and then the story. Background first, I never knew my entitled dad was this bad. At least, not to the extent I know today, as they hid most issues from the three of us. However, he's always had this major temper issue. In an old rental home we had, he had punched holes into the door and wall. Not to mention, we had always had a problem with money, but he refuses to ask for help of any kind, except for my late grandmother who gave all of her savings to us 3 grandbabies. Even as CPS took us away due to the last eviction and ordered him into counseling and anger management, he stopped going the moment it was convenient for him, aka when my mom's adoptive parents took us in. But still, he wasn't ever as bad as he is now. So fast forward to 2019 when my grandmother passed away in her sleep. Only weeks after we laid her to rest and the COVID pandemic began to hit the news, his only response was, "We'll worry about it later." It's always been his response for things that don't concern him. So fast forward again to earlier today for the story I want to tell. I just started college classes for an early childhood education certification, so I went to bed late last night after some studying. Also, I think it's important to note, I sleep on basically a camping cot in the living room as we live in a 2-bedroom trailer. Bro 1 has the second bedroom, and mom and entitled dad have the main. So I sleep here. So most mornings, mom's fairly quiet when she gets up so I don't get woken up. I'm a grouchy person if wakened by a sudden noise. Entitled dad isn't home much as he's a trucker, but he knows this. I've told him on multiple occasions. So this morning, I was woken up after only sleeping 4 or so hours because they were arguing about God's only know. Mom was usually one to tell him off, but this morning he was out for heads it seemed. I don't remember anything from this morning since once it calmed down, I took a nap. Later though, while I was taking notes for school, he started up again. This will be the only warning for misgendering, God complex, and general D-baggery. And I'm aware I was also not responding well, but these responses are an auto-trauma response from a narc foster dad in care. And everything is written to the best of my memory, as this does get blocked out some. Entitled Dad says, "You'll give me respect or there's the door. I'm the parent and you are the child." I say, "I'm an adult and respect is given when received, and you do not respect me." Entitled Dad said, "You don't respect anyone. You're to give me respect no matter what or else." I say, "You're being a narcissist." He says, "No, I'm not." Bro 1 says, "OP, Entitled Dad, can you both shut up and speak one at a time?" I say, "Of course, Bro 1, and I'd like to formally apologize for waking you up." Bro 1 waves it off and says, "Now one at a time, no interruptions." OP, what do you want to say? Me setting my pencil down said, "All I asked for was mutual respect. However, it's not possible with someone who obviously doesn't know how respect works. And obviously for silence so I could study." Entitled Dad says, "I could cut off your college." Bro 1 says, "Now that's crossing a line, Entitled Dad." I say, "First of all, you aren't paying crap for it. Of all the money you've spent $125 on books and $75 to $100 on some small supplies. The government's paying the rest. You can't even pay the $75 to $100 back for supplies since they're used." At this point, I slid on my headphones, but not before I heard Entitled Dad say, "I will get this house in order, and if she, Bro 1's dead name, doesn't begin to treat me how I should be, there's the door." Me speaking up said, "I'm not treating you like a god. I'm not going to disrespect my gods for a fake god like you. You're delusional." He says, "If you don't like it, there is the door." After all that, I slid my headset on to listen to a documentary about World War II while studying childcare. Weird, I know. I'm not sure what to do in this situation, and am likely going to lose my home within the month because I refuse to give Entitled Dad the same respect I give to my gods. Any advice is appreciated, and I'd like to add, I'm unemployed and do rely on him to pay my $85 phone bill thanks to COVID. However, I'm searching for one and plan to apply for SNAP as soon as I can, and for housing assistance. The only issue is, due to no money, I wouldn't be able to attend my in-person classes since I can't drive yet. Another effect of Entitled Dad, because he refused to let me get my license at 16 and won't even teach me now after nearly laying a hand on me. This is a really tricky situation, but I would say if you're that motivated to get out of it, I feel like honestly the best way to keep going is to just hustle. Maybe try to room with your brother if you can, try to just give the Entitled Dad space, and then probably just try to find some kind of job or something that can generate you money, either in person or online, and just stay on that grind till you can reach some kind of independence. And our final story of the day is by WolfieLove144. Parents try controlling my life and freak out when I take back control. My parents don't seem to understand what boundaries are. Since I was 11 years old, I've had problems with my parents. I'm now 18, so it's been well over 7 years. Well, on a particular day in December in 2021, I got in a fight with my boyfriend. We weren't screaming at each other, but I was angry over stupid things and started raising my voice. Well, my mother overheard the fight since she was near my room and decided to barge into my room. Instead of asking what's wrong or what's going on, she started trying to get me off the phone. I declined and asked her to leave at least 3 times before shutting the door in her face as she wouldn't leave. She then opened my door again and started to scream at me to hand her my phone. This is where I started to get annoyed, as I'm a grown adult handling my relationship, so I said no multiple times to her. This turned into a fight between my mother and I, as me handling my own relationship wasn't good enough for her, and she wanted to intrude on it. As my mother and I keep going back and forth, my father comes into my room. Once entering my room, he proceeded to start screaming at me to hand them my phone. I still decline. At this point, I've hung up and shown them I have. But that wasn't good enough for them. They wanted to take this further and started threatening to take my car. It was a gift in 2020 and my dad's still paying it off, so it's in his name. I still said no to them because I haven't done anything wrong. They started getting in my face, screaming at me. I give them my phone because I'm sick of fighting with them, and no matter how much I walk away, they keep getting in my face. But since I didn't immediately hand them my phone, my dad tried reaching for my purse where my car keys were. I grabbed my purse, my dad and I fought till my purse broke, taking my car key, and then I was screamed at for around 30 minutes because I never handed over my stuff immediately to them. Well, fast forward a few hours, we finally sit down to talk about what happened. For a little background context, my boyfriend overheard some of the argument with my parents and knows the past of what they've done, so he doesn't like them too much, but has been very polite and respectful to them throughout the almost 2 years we've been dating. Even when they treated me like absolute crap, he's kept being respectful. No hateful comments to them, and has went above and beyond with helping me in many aspects, etc, etc. Back to the story, my parents texted my boyfriend after taking away all my stuff and told him I would be grounded for a while. My parents never gave me a time of how long, no matter the punishment, so in response, he told me that he feels sorry for me because of the way my parents treat me, like I'm a mistake and as if I'm like my sister. Another story for another time. Just know she's a dropout in high school, did beer runs and stole frequently, had to be put in a girls' home and mental hospitals when she was a minor, and is only 21 and having her second kid. And he would gladly open his home to me, so I'm not left with being treated in such fashions anymore. This in turn made my parents very angry, so they texted him back saying that he should shut his mouth and stay out of things he shouldn't be involved in before it gets bad for him. But even though I didn't send the message, I was punished further for it. I then had to listen to my parents degrade him as an overall human being because he sent a message to them about their behaviors towards me, calling him many names. I asked them why they think he's abusive. They tried going off our argument prior that day, but when I told them they only heard me speaking, my tone of voice, and etc., they tried to pull, "You don't know what you're talking about, and you should just shut up and listen because we know what's best." I still continue to stand up for my boyfriend because he's done nothing wrong, especially not to be labeled abusive. He's never called me names, hurt me physically, or done anything in the realm of abusive. My parents, on the other hand, have, and when their behaviors are shown to other people outside of the people in my household, they tend to freak out and blame the other to be abusive, controlling, and not good for me. Well, I wasn't going to take it this time and stood up for my boyfriend, telling them that he's not any of those things they said and that they shouldn't be calling him that. They continue to try and manipulate me into thinking he was, even putting in the fact that he doesn't know what parents are like since his mom was absent in his life and his dad was an alcoholic. This pissed me off, but I kept my composure and told them not to say that type of stuff about him. But because I even defended him, I wasn't allowed to talk to him, to hang out with him, or any of my friends till my dad got to talk face to face with my boyfriend. They then also tried to take away my dream job that I was getting since I would be working with my boyfriend's stepmom. She gave me this. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Well, I didn't agree with any of that, especially since I could never get the opportunity to work in the work field I want till after college, and that my boyfriend doesn't need to talk to them about the message. I see nothing wrong since they were called out on their BS. Since I didn't agree, they ended the talk and tried to pull the "you know I love and care for you" card to try and breadcrumb me into forgiving them for their behaviors. This just fueled the hatred inside of me because they never looked at their mistakes as a parent and how much over the years they've hurt me as a human. Instead, they try to be materialistic at times and get me things, which I'm grateful for, but it doesn't excuse their behaviors. At the end of the night, around 4 hours at most later, they hooked up loudly in their bedroom. I could hear it from the kitchen area. This really spoke to me because they rarely do that and it seemed disgusting, especially after what happened that day. So in turn, once I got my old phone and car back, I bought myself a new phone, plan on getting my own phone line, blocked my father from accessing my bank account, and really haven't been home much at all. And when I am, I'm hiding in my bedroom. This includes my birthday too. I was in my room the whole time, then went to a friend's and spent the night. Till this day, I barely try to talk to them and plan on moving out very soon. The only thing stopping me is completing high school and college. It's dual credit. I'm doing college and AP classes in high school, so I'm taking very difficult classes, while also working my dream job with my boyfriend's stepmom. Here's my story. Thanks for reading. Writing really helps me out a lot in many ways. I don't know if this is behavior they've always done, or if they're trying to be like overly course corrective after what happened with OP's sister, But honestly, if they've always been this way, honestly, in the least offensive way possible, I wonder how much all that wore down on OP's sister and might have caused them to make life choices like that. I just don't see how they can understand that you're in a relationship and you're having an argument with them, and then they just want to take over your life for you, and then take your phone and car away and, I don't know, verbally beat down the boyfriend. It's like as if anybody does anything marginally wrong to you, they're going to shut you down, push you to the side, and chase that person out of your life. I'd stop talking to them and hide from them too. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel, and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.